Hey everybody, this is John for Pioneer Nexus MTG coming at you with some live gameplay for the first time in quite some while on this main channel. As a friendly reminder, if you do like informative Pioneer-based content, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below. And you like some more Pioneer-adjacent content, please consider Arena Nexus MTG as your home for the Explorer format, as we do some Pioneer-adjacent videos on there. Most notably lately, we've done some 5-color enigmatic fires, and soon we'll have a video of Absian Greasefang releasing on there. So, I know in the poll, people actually voted for Boros Heroic to be the deck that we bought to get back into Pioneer gameplay, as I don't have a ton of time these days to grind a bunch to make sense to do a rental plan, but I did want to get back into actual gameplay instead of just doing deck guides, and I really am interested in the Pioneer Lotus Field deck, and once the channel does get monetized and we get a little bit rolling on that, which should be soon as things are going. Right now we're about a little short of 800 subscribers, about 771, 772, somewhere in there. Once we get monetized, I will pick up Boros Heroic, so we'll be playing kind of both decks on the channel, see how they kind of do overall, as both decks are kind of fairly on the affordable side, and I wanted to get back into some gameplay. Well, we are not playing the latest tech with this particular deck, as a lot of people have been doing some iterating, including Brian, what is his name, over at the Epic Storm. He did some recent work with a variant that was running Thassa's Oracle as a win con, going a little bit faster with things like Growth Spiral, in addition to Arboreal Grazer. And then there are a couple of other content creators that occasionally do the Lotus Field Combo deck as a deck. But here primarily we're going to focus on the basics of the deck, learning the deck a little bit more, and kind of hoping newer to more intermediate players iterate with the deck a little bit, and obviously have a little bit of an eye on the format overall, in terms of, through the lenses of this particular deck, just because it's one of the more affordable decks on Magic Online. If you're not familiar with the Lotus Field Combo deck, your goal is to get Lotus Field into play, and then copy it with Thespian Sage, and then kind of abuse it from there to cast very powerful spells. There are various win cons and various ways to set this up. Most of the standard version, or kind of the most variants, run Emergent Ultimatum as the way to set up the kill con, and then usually involves cycling through Omniscience and approach the Second Sun out of the sideboard as the win con. Now the win cons can vary. Some people run the Mizzet Reborn, some people vary on the number of Emergent Ultimatums, and as far as the fine details, as far as some of the other cards that we'll get into here in a second. As far as finding your combo pieces, Sylvan Scrying and Impulse are early ways for you to find your Lotus Field or Thespian Stage. Oftentimes you really can't afford to keep a hand without at least Sylvan Scrying Lotus Field or multiple Impulses, just because it is so central to your strategy, and basically without Lotus Field your deck is kind of useless. Beyond that, you use things like Hidden Strings and cycling the Zero Tumbling Sands to get your mana engine going once you have Lotus Fields and such in play. And then you use Pour Over Pages to continue to increase your mana advantage, and then hoping to find or play into an Emergent Ultimatum to kind of set up a card combo pile. Now this can go various different ways, a lot of your different things. A lot of people play Leer, Disciple of the Drowned, as a way to recycle a lot of the cards from your graveyard, also making your things uncounterable, which your opponents kind of hate if they're blue control decks. Mastermind's Acquisition is one of your primary ways to find your kill cons out of the sideboard, or a key card you might need. Sometimes this can even double as a Lotus Field finder or a finder for Thespian Stage, as you need the black mana from Lotus Field to be able to cast this. And the other key action spell is Fae of Wishes, the granted side, allowing you to go and find the cards you need out of your sideboard. Behold Beyond is a way to get around things like Narset or Sheoldred, allowing you to set up potential ways to get around the detrimental effects those cards have, either causing you to lose life whenever you draw cards, or allowing you to balance the Sheoldred or Narset to be able to even draw the cards. Beyond that, Baral, Chief of Compliance, this is kind of a flex spot, allows you to play some cheaper stuff, and as well as whenever a spell or ability causes you to counter spell, you may draw a card if you do discard. This is a nice looting effect. And then Arboreal Grazer here, primarily to speed your deck up against the aggressive decks. Beyond that, other cards that you cannot see quite yet. Dig for Time, yet another way to look for the key pieces you're missing. You don't do a ton of filling up your graveyard, but you know this still can be a cheap cantrip, and it also notably doesn't have you draw the cards, which can be important for getting around the Narset and Shouldered in key turns. And finally, Omniscience. The danger of Omniscience is, in particular, you are vulnerable to things like Boseiju breaking up the combo, so that is something to be aware of, and oftentimes, with Emergent Ultimatum, your opponent will not let you get the Omniscience. As far as the land base, you are trying to maximize your ability to cast early green spells, so to that end, you're playing only a couple copies of Temple of Mystery. Maybe these should be Brooding Pools, or more copies if you have a Maya Coast. This is more a relic of when the deck needed a little bit more smoothing against more of a mid-range deck. The problem with this deck is, outside of Rakdos and probably Blue-Eye Control, you really need to be faster than the deck typically is, so that is why the deck hasn't been performing quite as well of note of late. Otawaro and Boseiju are both mana sources and ways to deal with problematic permanents. Any number of things, whether it be Damping Spheres, Godpharaoh statues, Sholdrids, Narsets. There's any other number of things. Thalia. There's any number of things that cause your Alpine Moon, etc., which cause you to not quite be able to combo off, and these are kind of hidden within your mana base as nice ways to be able to unlock those particular situations. As far as your sideboard, this one's a little bit of a mix. People are running Zakama. I still haven't had a chance to use this at all, and I think it's kind of a dead card space, quite frankly, but it is a tech that was available whenever I was getting back into playing the game a little bit, or playing the deck a little bit. Sphinx is the final word, primarily here against counterspell-based decks. Blue-Eye Control and the Spirits variants. Approach the Second Sun, how you win the game. It's basically the second time you cast it, you win. Thought Distortion, good against any deck trying to load up on counterspells to beat you. Mystical Dispute to help force you through your counterspells. Behold the Multiverse as a card advantage spell against the attrition-based matchups. Pithing Needle, primarily here for Karn. Karn the Great Creator out of Mono Green is a nightmare. Terra Sunder is quite a nice out. This allows you to blow up most of the hate cards that we kind of talked about, especially the enchantment or artifact-based ones, while also being able to, buy you a little bit of time against some, things like Greasefang combo, etc., blowing up their key thing. 9 lives is a little bit of a tech for the aggressive decks, along with Supreme Verdict. And that's kind of the version we're rolling with. Once again, this isn't the most up-to-date version, but it's the version I've been rolling with for the last week or so since I picked up the deck, getting a little bit of iterating into it. So, that said, let's get into some matches in the practice room and see if we can kind of show how this deck functions. Alright, we're here for match 1. We are on to play, which is always nice. I guess I'd like to play first. This hand has everything but Lotus Field. I think with the Mastermind's acquisition, I'll risk keeping it, but obviously we need to find a Sylvan Scrying or a Lotus Field pretty quickly. Okay, Otawaro would be great to have access to, but once again, we're really digging towards a way to find Lotus Field. So green with nothing going on. Hold Beyond, also a fine card, but not really what we need here. Okay, so it looks like we're actually playing the mirror match, which is interesting, I guess. So we're probably dead. Dig through time. Pelaged Recovery is an interesting one. Though I am pretty sure we are dead. Just gonna rebuy this because we have nothing there to do with our mana. Our opponent showing the niceties of speed. Point Exploration. Kicker. May put a land from the battlefield. Interesting bit of tech. Apparently our opponent is also missing a piece. So... Okay, there's a Lotus Field. Actually, what are the odds? We need to... yeah, we don't have the ability to go off this turn, so... what we're going to do is sacrifice these two, pass turn, and try to set up and go off next turn. Okay, opponent's got access to some amount of mana. Don't really know. Maybe they're trying to set up for Board of the Pages. 5 mana kind of indicates. Okay. We found another land, but sure. So it looks like they're on the, or a variant of Brian Cook's version with the growth spirals. So much mana do I have access to? So land, untap, impulse. No. Okay, copy this. Hidden strings. Yes, yes, no. Into an impulse. We found another hidden strings, which is nice. In order. Float this. Yes, yes. No. So currently we have access to 8 mana, which is enough to dig and try to hit something. If we had 9, we could acquisition for Lear and kind of go nuts from there. Behold the Beyond, there's nothing we can do for 1 mana, so I think we have to dig. Leaving in hidden strings, I think. So poor. Fae on top. Lotus Field. We'll just take this opportunity to get a Boseiju and then pass the turn, set up for next turn. Boseiju allows us to blow up them getting us a Thespian stage. Sure. Sure. Opponent knows this thing gonna work, right? Okay, they're just gonna go from the Lotus Field. Do they have hidden strings to go with this? The echo is real. Could have got a cheeky attack in. Alright, so start by cycling this. Okay, impulse. Ultimatum should be enough here. So green, black, blue, pour, cancel. That will clearly not want to give us ultimate or omniscience here, so we'll go with this. Leer and hidden strings should allow us to win the game. To give us the omniscience is quite easy, but I was kind of going to do this convoluted line where yes, yes, no, black, black, do that. Go ahead and exile it. Put it on Leer. It's currently access to 11 mana, so we can do a little bit more. Hidden strings, bing bing. Yes, yes, yes. Put it on there. Alright, so that is for card. Go grab omniscience. Now we don't gotta really worry about mana. Want this, want this. Dot distortion's probably fine. Pithing Needle could be, yeah. It's all about speed. Delegate, a little bit slow. Take that out. Actually, they're not going to have a ton of counter spells, so it's just kind of whatever. Impulse, hidden strings, Viral, impulse, Vizier. Basically, we're just going to go cast Omniscience, cast Granted, go get it from our deck, Behold the Beyond, cast Approach, game over. That's essentially what was going to happen. Probably was a less convoluted line to get there, but once you kind of hit that point, the game is basically over anyway. And we'll show you one of these. Could bring in the Terra Sunders, could bring in Pithing Needle for whatchamacallit once we get ahead. This hand has no ability to access anything really, so I think we have to mulligan this one. This hand has almost everything what we're looking for, except we really need another land. So I think we put back Vizier. Really would like to hit another land drop. Opponent's got the Arboreal Grazer. Land. Nice. Obviously, we can't put Lotus Field yet. Opponent's got the Sylvan Scrying into Lotus Field. Use this to get the Thespian stage. Lotus Field. Obviously, we could try to hold up the Sager to blow them up. That might have been a correct thing, but then we would have used so much of our mana this turn. Yeah, maybe it was correct to hold up Thespian stage. Or hold up things in case they try to went for Thespian stage themselves. Okay. Alright, and it's going to F6 because we have nothing we can do. Distortion of the thing. Okay. What am I pitching here? All right. Opponent with a... Actually, they were in a pretty decent spot with Lear. All right, here for our second match this week. Be on the play again, which is nice. Opponent has a companion, obviously. Omniscience is a bit awkward, but I do think we keep this hand with Sylvan Scrying for Lotus Field at least. Looking for a Thespian stage or a... Okay, I'm good with rolling with that for now. Omniscience is generally not a card you want in your opener, but it's fine-ish. Opponent leading on Keruga Fires. Go get a Lotus Field here. Play Lotus Field. Not sure what our opponent's up to over there. Could be some type of fires list. Possibly on the crew. Yeah, they're on. Looks like they might be on Keruga Fires. Okay, Balagad Recovery, Impulse. We'll take the opportunity to besiege you, although we're not terribly happy about it. Still looking for. I guess we'll take the Sylvan Scrying. Okay, looks like we're up against Cavalier Fires. Okay. Looking for stage, play stage. Still need a payoff, which we had to use a good portion of our disruption or digging to find a second copy of that. So looks like they'll have fires into whatever here. I suppose I should look at what our opponent is. Okay, fires we mentioned, sure. Into what's your payoff? Touch of the Spirit Realm. Yeah, that's not particularly scary. So 7 down to 5, up to 9. I can play Omniscience this turn. Is that worth it though? Or is it just like besiege you, go grab another Thespian stage, play stage, copy, pass, and then just besiege this now, I guess. Not sure it particularly matters. When I do this, I don't really want to give them access to a third. Whatchamacallit? Biggest problem we have now is clearly we need to find a payoff. Before we die. Now, Fire's deck is unlikely to have that's annoying, but it's also kind of whatever. They could have a Kenrith or Cavalier here. Terror. Yeah, it's terrifying. But we really need to find a payoff this turn. Move to combat, please. Ah, they were debating what land they were playing. Got it. Let's go and play this. Grab Lear, Mastermind's Acquisition, Fayev, sure. But we can, any number of things we could go get there. So probably want the Terra Sunders. They're more of a creature-based deck. So Supreme Verdicts could be potentially okay. Let's look up to see what even they've got. Keruga. Macro Sage. Okay, Keruga Fires. Seeing that more in Explorer, but we'll get the general gist of what they're playing. Mystical Disputes and a bunch of stuff to blow things up pretty much. Eline Binding is also a possibility. So we definitely want the Terra Sunders. I don't know that we really play around counter magic all that much. We could also potentially want Supreme Verdicts. But like, what are we wanting to take out? Immersion Ultimatum, a Balaged Recovery, one copy of Grazer maybe, and then bring in like one copy of Supreme Verdict perhaps. Leave one in the wish board. This hand is got everything but a second land. I think we'll try it. Arboreal Grazer. Put that into play. Probably should have just put that into play. Take one less damage. With an awkward mana draw, which their deck just kind of does. Well, that's a nice problem to have, I suppose. Do this. And stage. Play Lotus Field. Don't actually know that we need the speed of Arboreal Grazer, but this hand paid off quite nicely. Opponent did not crack their fetch, which is kind of questionable, I suppose. But yeah, we pretty much had the win lined up, but that is something to consider whenever you're playing the deck. Is the risk reward for that hand was quite high if we hit the second land, because we already had the Sylvan Scrying. So basically the only thing we needed to top deck was a land, and you know, pretty much we had like 18 out of like 50 or something, so it wasn't great, but it also wasn't terrible. So yeah, doing a quick wrap for this video. Now I understand this wasn't a full league or anything like that, but you know, I wanted to get into some reps with the thing, or reps with the deck, you know, showing some play lines that you need to do with the deck sometimes. I'm sure I took a very convoluted route, probably that game number 1 against Lotus Field Combo. But, you know, once you hit a certain point and you can just cast a bunch of spells, pretty much play with your food however you want. Once you get past a certain point, you know, it's very clear your opponent has no interaction. Eventually you're going to find a way to win. Now, one change I did make in this deck that the previous version, because the other version that I originally copied this deck from was playing a copy of Shimmer instead of Fae of Wishes, and I found that if our Mastermind's Acquisition got exiled, which it ironically did against, I believe it was a Rakdos deck with Graveyard Trespasser, we weren't actually able to win the game because we had no way of going and fishing the card out of our graveyard. And Behold Beyond is search your library for 3 cards, so I added a second search thing to be able to go get our Approach of the Second Sun out of the sideboard. Now, obviously, alternative win cons, you do have access to things like Sphinx of the Final Word or Zakama out of the sideboard, but once again, I don't really see the point of Zakama. It was just kind of a list that I've copied, and even with basically a 13-card sideboard, this deck has done quite well in the practice rooms, but once again, not quite league play yet. Hopefully we'll get to that next video. But did want to get some gameplay with this deck and, you know, kind of start getting out there some reps with the deck and see where we can go with this deck with a different iterating. I know there's obviously this build, the Wish build, the Thassa's Oracle variant, and the Turbo Thassa's Oracle variant that Brian Cook was playing. So there are different builds out there, you know, different varieties of things you can do with a Vergent Ultimatum, etc. But basically, when you have as many tutors as this deck does, you know, the world's kind of your oyster once you get the mana engine set up. The key is really getting the mana engine set up and being fast enough to deal with aggro. So if you can do that, you know, and be fast enough to kind of compete with or challenge mono green, this deck can be in a pretty good place. Otherwise, you're in some rough spots in the current meta. But, you know, while the deck isn't putting up the results that it once did, still a very powerful deck and a deck that you should be aware of in the format, and a deck we will continue to iterate on the channel. As far as the channel content going forward, I think the main goal is right now about two videos per week. One video being a deck guide, usually released on Mondays, and then Thursday is going to alternate between Lotus Field Combo gameplay and like other stuff like the you know, top 5 decks in the format, that kind of stuff. That might get released on another day simply if the first of the month's like at a different situation. But, you know, that's kind of the goal right now. And I think the Lotus Field deck gameplay is going to be like every other week. So like every other Thursday this will be coming out, ideally. It's kind of where I intend to stick for right now and see where things go from there. But as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you for the next Pioneer video.